All right, good evening, everybody. Man, it's been a little time since we last got together, but here we are, November 7th, 2013, Grievance WildStar cast. With us tonight, we got our friends, Mr. Steele. Say hello, Steele.
Hey!
And we got ourselves Streak. Streak, say hello.
Hello, hello.
And guys, this is Mr. Puddles. Man, I can't tell you how excited I am to have this conversation today because it has happened. After weeks upon months, that's finally gotten to the point where they said, this is it. 6 weeks, six classes, and we now have the information that we're getting ready to get some beta at the end of the year. I'm telling you, it's an exciting time. Streak, you and I talked about this, for a while, man. Is this it, or is this the final push? You getting pumped?
Oh, finally, it is here. I tell you, I have just been. I've lost some spark. I admit it. I lost a little bit of spark because it waited so long. But this new news, yes, I know, it's terrible. But it's not that I lost interest in the game. It's just it's been so long that it was like I don't want to get too hyped up for it and then come crashing down. So it was awesome to see that they're finally pulling the trigger. 6 weeks is a long time because the information that we really want to know is going to be week 5 and 6. So
Seven.
it's
It'll be
yeah, and 8 and 9 and 10. But yeah, awesome news, man. Beta's coming up around the corner again. All the new information's coming out. We finally get to see the tweaks that they've done. It's gonna be a good month or two. Good run for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and it gets exciting when you start talking about it because we didn't have some information. Now we got something, right? Still, we kind of talked about this a little bit. This is good news. It's not in your face, everything right up front. They're splitting it out. They're saying, hey, look, we're going to give you some information. We all know at the end of the day, it's about the two classes we don't know about yet, but
which will be week
they're going to
5 and 6.
exactly week 5 and 6, right? But at the end of the day, they're saying, let's take the time to talk about the classes that you already know. So you think it's a good idea? You think they should have started? This is the common question. Should they have started with the things you don't know, or should they have started with the things that you do know?
Oh, well, it's marketing. You always start with the things you do know, and then you go make them wait and put the things you don't know at the end. Build up the excitement.
And excitement they have built. It is amazing, and I tell you, we're going to show you the beta the beta epic drop that they teased to us, and we can go ahead and roll that.
Beta.
An epic drop that was. When I saw that, I think I probably got about 20 messages on Twitter, and it was just like, did you see it? And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And the next thing you know, I'm just like, oh my, this is going to be so good to talk about. And then, we had last week was Halloween, so we didn't have a cast, and I says, can I hold it in for a week? So, the next day goes by, and I'm like, it's okay, we're not going to get anything else. So, how surprised was I yesterday when they actually did what they said they were going to do and say, hey, look, we're going to give you some information about the Warrior. So, we have that video. Can you go ahead and play that Warrior video for us?
Welcome to WildStar. This is DevSpeak. Do not feed the disclaimer. It's time to unleash the people's eyebrow of classes. He prefers to be known as the Warrior! Our goal with the Warrior was to make a close-range, brute force brawler that uses high-tech weaponry and atomic energy to close distances, generate threat, and bring the damages. He's kind of a nuclear-powered Swiss Army knife, attached to a pro wrestler. The Warrior comes fully loaded with a giant power sword, heavy armor, brute force, and a cannon on his arm. A giant arm cannon. So first things first, the Warrior has this power sword, and he uses it to smash through anything that gets in his way. Now the Warrior's arm cannon can do a little bit of everything. Shoot this fool. Grapple that guy. Power saw this thing. Water some flowers. Then you've got my favorite part. His 1980s wrestling moves. Bitch slap. Body check. Power kick. Power kick. Power kick to death. I mean, what are these guys gonna do? You've got heavy armor! Yeah! And thanks to limited action set, I can build my Warrior out sweet. I can roll him straight up tank, or go balls to the wall damage. Maybe a healthy dose of both? So that's the Warrior. Get your eyeballs over to the website and smell what the Warrior is cooking. And drop us an elbow on social media. Remember, the devs are listening. Want to see the next new video?
Let me tell you something. When I saw it the first time, I actually had to watch it like 5 more times, right? At the end of it, all I kept saying to myself is, "Ooh, Macho Man Randy Savage." But man, how awesome is that? So we got it. You know, Frost does a great job anytime he does one of these dev speaks, right? He gives you they give you the information, and then they give you just these little onesie twosies, you know? Hey, it can do this. Hey, it can do this. But it doesn't exactly say, well, you're forced to do this, and that's kind of something exciting. And I know, Steele, you and I have talked about this before. When you talk about tanking, you know, you don't want to be handcuffed. You know, you don't want to be, I have to do the same thing every single time. Obviously, there's a little bit of flavor that you can add here, right? You know, you can be pure tank, you can be tanky DPS, you know, you can obviously be all DPS. You know, that flexibility, especially when you talk about doing, you know, different types of raids and stuff, that's necessary in a game like this, don't you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, obviously, if you're tanking, you've got to be able to take a hit. But nowadays in MMOs, it's all about taking hit plus DPS, because you've got to be able to hold aggro. And no taunts are going to keep aggro on you all the time. It's got to be mixed with DPS. So when they said part tank, part DPS, you're probably looking for a little mixture of both to get a good tanking skill set going on.
Yeah, and you know, Streak, you and I were talking about this before the cast. You know, with that limited action set, possibilities are probably pretty endless, right? You know, 40 plus skills you could put on your bar, mix and match. You know, it's kind of like pick your own adventure. You know, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, they're doing this with all the classes. And what's really good about the way that they're handling this with the limited action set is that, as any of you guys out there that play MMOs know, that as you're leveling up, you kind of have one play style. If you're going to go out there and you're going to do a little bit of soloing or maybe a little duo, trio, small group type content, you're probably going to want your tank to be a little bit more on the DPS side so you can whack those guys down and advance in your level. When you're getting to the end game and you're doing those deep dungeon runs or those big giant raids, you're probably going to want to make sure you're about as beefy as you possibly can. So having that flexibility there will allow you to play the different levels of the game and still keep just one class going, which I think is just going to be perfect for it.
You know, the interesting part about this whole thing is this isn't it, right? You know, obviously you see this and you're like, wow, dev speak, you know, this is exactly what we wanted. They're not done. Today, they did Ask Me Anything. And the questions that were asked were amazing. Some of the things we got out of that, which you know, I like to bring up, is they made an overhaul to their website. If you haven't been there, please go look at it, right? And the website basically says, you know, it's got all the 6 classes. And so you can kind of hover over, what they've already revealed. You click on the warrior, and it goes through the whole thing about the warrior. I mean, hey, look at its big sword, look at its arm cannon, aka multi-tool, aka I can water your flowers. Oh, by the way, it's got a foot. It's got its brute strength that it can do things with. So it's really cool that they have that there. They go one further because they know, and they say the devs are listening. Maybe they've been hearing what we've been saying. The number one thing I've been asking is, how do I know what class or what race could be what class? In the middle of the page, they actually say, hey, these are the races that can be a warrior. So when they ask me anything today, I say, I'll ask a question. They probably won't answer it. Guys, what do you think? Is this going to be all that can be a warrior? I didn't think they'd respond. They responded. The answer is, if you see it on their website, that's it. So there's no more guessing what can be a warrior. If it's on their website, that's it. So no more guessing. If you want to be a warrior, that's what you got to choose from. So it's awesome news for people who wanted to, who are stuck on I say stuck on, but people who want to be a warrior, that's what you got. They're your classes. Best thing about it is you can go click on somebody. You can look at their armor. Oh, man, and does the armor look sweet? And so I have to ask this tank to tank. Steel, do you like to look good when you tank?
Oh, absolutely. The beefier, the bigger shoulders, the bigger weapon. I want the sword with the chainsaw on the end, by the way. That looked pretty. It's all about, appearance. When you walk into a bar and you walk up to the bar, people need to move.
It's awesome. And so, guys, if you haven't been there, make sure you go there, look at the new stuff, click around. The only thing that's sad is it's not 3D, because I found myself clicking and trying to move, oh, you can't see what it looks like from behind. But all the stuff's out there. Underneath of it, there's a couple, frequently asked questions. I love, by the way, it says, rate the warrior from 1 to 10, and it's a 15. So, hey, that's pretty high. So, let's see what else they get. But, it's good that they did it. They're starting with the classes. They obviously are starting with the classes that we already know. Next week looks like, unless something changes and the way the website looks, it's going to be Esper. So, we're not done. This is the best part. We're not done. Saturday, they're going to do a live stream. And it's not just one of these, I'm just going to sit here and play and do gameplay. They're going to do gameplay, and they're going to have somebody watching the stream actually answering questions. So if you guys have time, please, 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 if you have questions about the Warrior, that'd be the perfect time. The community manager for the UK is going to be on. I've been tweeting back and forth with him. So he's going to be there to answer any questions. It's just going to be a fun time. And guess what? All this news, everything that we did, this is week 1. We got 5 more weeks left. This is just absolutely amazing. I don't know about you guys. Streak, what do you think? Has your candle been lit again?
It definitely has. And that says a lot, because as you know, I'm a healer class. I am not a tank class. I have done DPS classes in the past. Tanking is just not for me. But it was exciting. It's exciting to see all the stuff. It was exciting to see the armor, the different layouts. You know me, I don't give props to the Dominion side very often, or never. But I tell you, did you see the armor on that warrior for the Draken, man? That is just sweet. I'm a little jealous. Luckily I'm not playing a warrior, so I don't have to compare my armor to theirs. But they did an excellent job. They gave every race out there its own unique look, which I think is really, really cool. So I'm looking forward to the up and coming weeks and all the other classes that they'll have coming out there.
And what's interesting, you talk about the armor, and one thing, and I don't usually get excited about armor at all, but every armor set looked different. Usually, you think about games like WoW and other games where they have tier sets, and all the tier sets look kind of the same. They look different. The Granok look completely different than the Draken. Even the 2 human races look completely different. It's exciting. And it's just those little small things. Everybody's like, well, all right, so the gear doesn't look the same. That's exciting. It's really cool to do that. So, Steel, as a tank, as you start looking at the video, and the video is showing you all the things that the multi-tool can do, right? Pull things to you. You know, some of the things they didn't talk about, you could put up a plasma shield. You know, you could do things like that. As a tank, you're sitting there with a two-handed sword, getting ready to absolutely lay waste to everything in your path. And then you have this little arm cannon, and it can shoot rockets. How excited are you?
Well, I'm very excited because this is actually the first time I've seen the video. You know how busy I am. And this is the first time I've actually got to sit down and see the video. All the information we've been getting before is, well, yeah, and of course you know I like the Granick. He can walk around naked and be a tank. I mean, but all the information we've been getting, it's always leaned more toward. I mean, you've talked about this, that it's always seemed like the warrior is leaned more toward an offensive melee class, and now we get to see the arm cannon and the pulling the mob to you so you can whack on it, and which was an ability I just absolutely loved in Star Wars. You know, so you get to pull the mob to you, and I'm assuming at some point we can leap to a mob somehow too, probably. So, you know, it does seem more like a tank, and I like what I'm seeing right now. I definitely do. I'm going to have, and I used to tank two-handed in the original EverQuest for the longest time, until I went to two one-handers like everybody else. But for the longest time, I tanked two-handed, so a chance to tank with a two-handed weapon again? Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Nothing like a good old whacking stick.
Oh man, and you know what's interesting is, you know, you watch it and you see, you know, there's 3 mobs. There's 5 mobs. Jumps into him. He doesn't care. He just starts whacking. He's whirlwinding. Who cares? They're all falling. You know, I don't know if you noticed the kick that he does. He doesn't just kick one mob. He kicks all 3 of them, and they just gone. I mean, how exciting is that? To have the ability to have, you know, what seems like a pretty simple, okay, I kick you. But to have it be able to hit multiple mobs, to have the, you know, just to have that ability, it's amazing. I love it. And, you know, I'm a tank at heart. So, you know, when I see this, I get really, really excited because I'm like, oh, you know, that's pretty easy. You know, I really like that.
Do you think that kick's an interrupt? Because it should be more exciting if that kick was an interrupt.
So I'm glad you brought that up. That is a perfect segue to the Ask Me Anything that we saw today. So the Ask Me Anything, again, they asked all sorts of stuff. Interesting enough, the Warrior has so many CCs, that's just one of them. But yes, that does do an interrupt.
Nice.
They were talking about, oh, well, they can do this, and they can do this, and they can do kind of the equivalent of a pummel. And I'm like, what? They can do how many? I think it was like 6 total. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, that's pretty good. Not only that, their threat mechanics are unheard of. Like having the ability to do almost like an AoE taunt, being able to, they have a ability to protect somebody where they actually have, they don't actually run behind them, but they can, as you're, you know, inside of a group mechanic, you can actually target behind you, so that person takes less damage from something that's in front of them. So they have all these cool mechanics that they're adding in, and you stop and say, well, you know, I wonder how they thought about that. So somebody actually asked that, and they were like, oh, well, we did lots of studies and blah, blah, blah. That's all well and good. I got to touch it. That's where I'm at now. I got to touch it. You know, it's so exciting. And especially, I'm with you, Steel. You see that big Granok walking around. That thing is screaming tank. That is like, I want to walk around naked and just say, hit me. Hit me. Yeah, it's exciting. And you know what? I think all of our questions that we may have will probably be answered on Saturday, because it sounds like they are going to be doing a lot of testing on Saturday. I don't know how long the live stream is going to be, but it's going to be exciting. So with that said, this is week 1. So we know upcoming we have the Esper, the Spellslinger, and the Stalker. So I think it's actually going to go in that order if they're going by what they actually say in the actually on the website. It brings up a good question since we're talking about tanks and the Warrior being a tank. they're heavy armor. If you start looking and you start thinking about it, because things are pretty even in this game. So there's one class of heavy armor. We know that the Esper and Spellslinger actually do not wear medium armor. They wear light armor. So your medium armor is going to be your Stalker, because they already said. So, interesting. That leaves one heavy armor, one medium armor class that they haven't talked about yet. So, start thinking. Yeah, medic. You know,
Medic.
and what's interesting about that is we're starting to get these little bits and pieces, just like people who are starting to play. I like to call it Connect 4 with the races. You know, we know what races can be warriors now. You know, next will be the Espers, and you're going to start, saying, well, this one already has 4 because that's their magic number, 4. You can, each race can only be 4 things. So as you start doing it, people are going to start figuring it out. So just like everything else they've shown us, we're eventually going to figure it out. But still, I think it's really, really awesome. They're doing such a great job. Hopefully everybody can make it, for Saturday, because it's going to be amazing. Steel, as a tank, watching this, and I know you played as a range tank in Star Wars.
I did.
Watching this, and this being a melee tank, would you give it a shot?
Oh, absolutely. For multiple reasons. It wouldn't surprise me if the range tank, if a lot of people think the engineer is going to be a range tank. It wouldn't surprise me if the range tank is going to end up being an avoidance tank. And what may surprise people, and I could be wrong, is the range tank may wear the medium armor.
Interesting.
Could be.
Remember, the clerics in the original EverQuest were heavy armor.
Yes, they were.
Wow.
So,
And I never thought about that, but you're right. That could be it. That the plot is thickening here. We could have a 180. That would be kind of surprising. So yeah, that's man, you have blown my mind. I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight thinking about that now.
well, remember, all these games seem to go to, they want 2 types of tanks, because there's 2 types of tanking playstyles. There's your, what I like to call your defensive tanks, your endurance tanks, and then your avoidance tanks. But your avoidance tanks never wear heavy armor.
Now, what's interesting is that they said the Stalker is an avoidance tank, right? Could they have come out with a third type of tank? Go against the industry standard, so to speak, and say, hey, we got a third type of tanking here? Who knows? I'm just throwing it out there.
Could be. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen a game with 3 tanks. Look at Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. It will definitely be interesting. It's exciting, of course, like we always talk about. And, as a healer, you would be excited healing a big, burly rock guy, right?
Yes. That is the way to heal, man. I tell you, there's nothing makes a healer happier than a big meaty tank up there that's kind of takes their damage regularly. It makes life so much easier than the avoidance tanks. They do good. Oh, you didn't hit me. Then all of a sudden, bam, you're down 20% health. And it's like those poor healers are like, you're all gonna die. I gotta heal this dude. So yeah, the warrior classes are definitely my favorite, without a doubt. And outside of those videos, I just want to throw in real quick, if you have a chance, go out to their website and check it out, because they also mentioned on their website under the warrior section that the warriors, for the people that don't want to fight the tanks, try to run away, that they've got all sorts of things like snares and leashes and everything else to keep people from running away from them. So there's a whole bunch of extra goodies in there as well I thought was good.
Leashes handy for them chewers.
That's right. Attaboy.
What's interesting about that is, we so focus on PvE, but, there is the PvP aspect. One of the big questions everybody's asking is, hey, I'm a melee, I'm going to get absolutely crushed by AoE damage or, from somebody from range. And that's not the case. There's so many things that you can do pulling somebody towards you, being able to jump, being able to run, being able to dodge. There's a lot of stuff. You're going to be viable, Don't think that you're going to go into a fight and not have the tools. They're going to try to balance it.
Oh, one of my
as much as
favorite
possible.
moves in Star Wars was to where PvPing in the war zones was to yank somebody toward me and give them that final hit, kill them right at my feet.
Yeah, I might be stealing a couple of kills that way myself, but don't tell anybody. So, so one thing that they talked about, and they didn't get into so much here, and I hope they will on the live stream. So there's still a talent tree, so to speak. I think it's called AMP. It's their way of being able to say, hey, I want to be more tanky, I want to be more DPS, I want to be more utility. That still has a play in here. Don't forget, you'll be able to do that. Stat allocation points. Every 5 points you get something. That's still there. So don't forget you that's still in play. So you can kind of be able to change that aspect more of a permanent way. I'm sure you can respec, but you have that, and then you have your on the fly being able to change your abilities. So that's going to really kind of play a role here. A lot of people are going to be interested. One of the things that I saw, and they explicitly called it out, and as a tank, Seal, you'll like this too. The more people you tank, the more you become a better tank. For example, as you get two guys on you, you're taking a certain amount of damage, and then all of a sudden here comes a third mob, so you taunt it over to you. You have tools inside of your tanking kit that says as you get more people on you, you you use less resources, you take less damage for X amount of time. You may have things, little passive cooldowns that happen. So it's exciting to see that they're actually taking this tank. We're not sure about the others, but they're taking this tank and saying, you know what, this is your guy. He's gonna run in there and he's gonna take as many mobs as he can. And we're gonna say, you know what, go for it. Let's see how many you can handle, and that's exciting. I'm sure that we'll be having the same conversation in 3 to 4 weeks about the tank that will actually say, as you tank more, you actually won't get hit as more, because if you did, you die quicker as the avoidance tank. But I still think it's pretty good. It's still, you think having that type of mentality, for a tank, taking everything, being the meat shield, walking in there, taking the hits for everybody. Do you think that that's going to really drive it home for those hardcore Warrior fans?
Well, it all depends on the actual tanking. In every game that has multiple tanks, there's always one best tank, regardless of what the developers say, the company says, the fanboys say. There's always one tank that is the absolute best. It's been that way in every game. In Star Wars, surprisingly, it wasn't the Guardian. It was the range tank. It was on the Republic side. It was the Vanguard. The Vanguard was the most versatile tank. You could run up in close and tank toe to toe, or you could go back and range tank. So it's, I like up close and personal tanking. That's how I was raised. That's how I learned how to tank. You get there and you stare at the mob's crotch all day long and just beat on it. But I did find some enjoyment in the range tanking, and mostly because it was an endurance tank. The range tank was. So as far as, which one's going to be the best tank for me to play personally, well, we'll know sometime after the game launches.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome. And let's not forget that after all this is said and done, they did talk about beta. Beta in December. That's only a couple weeks away.
Not that far.
And if you guys haven't, make sure you go look on the message boards. We made sure we put the link out there for the survey. That survey is free and open to everybody, so you can go out there and you can go fill it out. That gets you a higher chance to get picked. I think they're gonna really start picking a lot of people. They're still, their line is that spring 2014. They're really sticking to their guns there. So you know what? I think a lot of people are going to get in. So if you haven't already, go fill that out. Put your email address in there. Get ready to watch your spam filters. Pound F5 every 5 seconds. Do
5.
what you got to do. Yeah. So yeah, that's the exciting part of this. Week 1, we did it. We get past week 1. 5 more weeks left. So I have to ask Steele, in the next 5 weeks, what are you looking for?
The other tanks. Just like Streaks, looking for the, whatever healing abilities
Medic.
other classes may have. Medic, yeah. That's what I'm looking for. I've seen the warrior now. I'm really, really happy. So right now I'm like warrior. I'm gonna be a warrior. And the stalker may come out and I may be like, So we'll see.
I've never been a Wolverine fan, but the stalker with those little claws, it's kind of exciting. But when it comes down to it, I don't know, man. 2-handed sword, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be good, and if the engineer turns out to be a range tank, it's gonna have to blow my mind.
Oh
and
man,
then it's gonna have to be a Granic too, because we've talked about that too. I want to be a Granic. That looks like a tank.
man, just think of all the great names you can come up with. That's another podcast. Streak, what are you thinking about?
Medic, beta,
Medic, beta,
medic.
medic.
No, a little bit of everything, to be honest with you. Because I've talked before about my little skepticism on the melee advantages and disadvantages in an action combat type game. So I still have my little fears about the medic if it turns out to be a melee type class. So I want to see the Esper and the details behind that. I want to see, probably most importantly for me anyways, is I want to see all the different class race combinations that you can play. Because as you know, I want to play Mordash. I'm thinking medic if it turns out to be what I want it to be. But what happens if they say, oh, well, Mordash can't be a medic? Then I'm right back to the drawing board. So I really want to see all the different class combinations. And I know they've kind of touched base on it before, but to see the different functions that each particular class will have. I mean, we know the tanks are going to be able to be tank and DPS. I'm assuming the medic is going to be, healer or DPS. The other classes, stalker, you said, DPS or maybe avoidance tank. Others be DPS, maybe healing. So all the different types of combinations.
Not healing and tank.
No,
Oh, yeah.
no, I don't want to see it.
We've seen
We
that.
we have, and it's good. I love having the options there, and still, we've raided before in Star Wars, and there's nothing like all of a sudden you have 20 tanks show up and you only need 1 or 2. So this gives them the ability to say, oh, okay, I'm going to switch my abilities around and I'm going all out DPS, or I'm going to go in between so I can do some off tanking. So those types of available options are just awesome, I think, to the game.
And the one thing we don't know and we haven't talked about yet, mostly because we don't know, speculation. You don't know when you get into a raid, you don't know how many tanks you're going to need. Maybe one fight one, maybe 3, 4. The joke is, you get to the higher end raids where it's the 40 man. They may split. A group of groups of 10. So you might have to have 4 tanks. They might break it into different chunks. It's going to be crazy. I'm telling you, but it's a fun kind of crazy, controlled chaos, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
One thing that I keep thinking to myself, and because you keep mentioning about Mordash, how embarrassing would it be if you're tanking and your arm just falls off?
You whack him with your arm, man.
Yeah, you just
Never give up.
That's right. You're multi-tool. You're going shooting your rockets, and all of a sudden, where'd that go? Yeah, I hit him with this now. Yeah, so it's exciting, and like I said, everything looks so good right now, and geez, I could have went another week, with them not telling me that, but now I'm jonesing. I'm hitting F5. I'm stalking them on Twitter. I'm just like, what other news you got? So, I think that's basically all we got for this week. The good stuff, right? That we got a good dose of information. Next week looks like it's going to be the Esper. Not confirmed yet, but I will just say, if you haven't, obviously we showed the video. Look it over 30, 40 times like I have. Go to their website. Go look at what can be a warrior if you're interested in doing the warriors. Very good information out there. Kind of lets you know PvP, PvE, what to expect. Obviously balance. They're trying to be as balanced as possible. Also, there's some really cool screenshots out there, wallpaper. I wish I could show you my wallpaper. Got some really cool things about, the warrior creed, and if you see a warrior this close, you're already dead. So it's cool stuff like that. God, I love these guys. These guys are really awesome. So, guys, closing thoughts? Anything?
Well, we got 5 more weeks, 5 more classes, 5 more reveals. It's or re-reveals, so to speak. It's going to be an interesting 5 weeks. We're going to have a lot to talk about, no doubt about it. And then week 6, when it comes around to week 6, and knowing that beta's just around the corner, and I know we all got our fingers crossed. It's going to be exciting times, and it's going to go by a lot quicker than you think.
Oh man,
Spring's not that far away.
I hope so, man. And Streak and I were talking, beta. Just jeez, we gotta get in there. We're jonesing for it now. Everything they're doing now at this point is a tease, but it's awesome. Yep. It's good though, and I'm glad they took their time and did what they did, because doing this way, being able to see the classes again, really get to watch them put it through its paces. If you had any questions, didn't get a chance to get into beta, here you go. This is going to be it, man. This is the playthrough that you're probably waiting for. So Saturday, I believe they're having the live stream. I believe it's at 4 PST. I can't remember. Anyway, I think it's on our website. So look it up. The live stream will be there. There'll be people there to answer your questions. If I can, I might try to pop into TeamSpeak if anybody wants to ask me questions, or I might be drooling. So,
You'll have to call me, because I'll be on shift, man.
Oh, that's even better. I'll have a 3-way call.
Yeah, I'll be pulling a 48-hour shift. So after you watch the stream, and after you bounce off your walls a little bit, give me a call.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's exciting, and like I said, we're getting excited, and this is reveal 1. 5 more weeks, guys. 5 more weeks, and then the big reveal, beta. Put it all out there.
I thought the big reveal was the medic.
That too.
Medic. Come on.
All right, guys. Well, you know what? Thanks again for joining us. It's always great to talk to you guys. So this is Mr. Puddles, Streeg, and our man Steelheart here. I hope you guys have a good night, and we'll see you guys next week.
have a good night.
Have a good one, guys.